What's up, otakus? Tour guide here. I just thought I'd jump on and uh, do a quick top 5 list for two characters that So I like both of these characters. One I like much more than the other, but I don't focus on them all that much in my collection. But for sure, they're big sort of figures in comic books. And I wanted to, I just recently picked up some books that feature these characters, and I thought, you know what? We've done a lot of like top 5 covers, top 10 covers in my collection of certain characters, and I figure it's long overdue to do these two characters. And I still have a lot of characters I haven't done. I haven't done like Wonder Woman covers. I haven't done. I don't think I've legitimately done a Batman cover yet either. But I was gonna do like a Superman Batman cover one as well. Maybe even like Joker covers in my collection. Although I'm holding off on the Joker covers till I actually pick up what I think is the most iconic Joker cover of all time, the Neil Adams Joker cover. So I'm hoping to pick that up in Vancouver or soon. But I just kind of been holding that one off until I get the big book. So we're gonna focus on today 2 characters: Cyclops, Scott Summers, and Supergirl, Kara Zor-El, or Linda Lee Danvers is her Earth name, her adopted name. It's just going to be a list of books. Now, what I realize is like I don't have a lot of like exclusive. I have a lot of covers where they're, I have a lot of covers of Supergirl, so I guess that I kind of had to pare down to like top 5. But like for Cyclops, I have a lot of covers where he's in the cover with X-Men, but it's not like kind of an exclusive. Would you say it's a Cyclops cover? And even some of these in here, it's kind of like a stretch. It's not really Scott by himself, but with his teammates. But anyway, I'll let you be the judge whether you think it's a good reflection of Cyclops or not. And this one here, man, this is from my collecting era. I remember when this book came out; it was a big deal. What we have is, and again, a 90s book. We're celebrating 90s books on Josh's Comic Books. So Aaron from Josh's Comic Books, shout out to you, my friend. Thank you for doing that. Because I think a lot of collectors in our community, at least the older ones, I can't speak for the younger ones because maybe we were too young to collect in the 90s. But people of my generation who collected that era, even before and through the 90s, obviously the older generation who were collecting in the 70s, they probably don't have the same affinity to 90s books. They probably have more affinity to the older books, and I completely get that. I have an affinity to the 80s books, more to the 80s books than I do the mid to late 80s books than the 90s books. But what I do recognize about the 90s, well, they were a fun time for collecting. It was yeah, I mean, as great as the 80s were for like books, you had gripping stories, you had amazing artwork, um, and you had the emergence of like guys like Jim Lee, Todd McFarlane, Mark Silvestri, who kept you coming back for more and more of what they were putting out. As great as that was, the 90s were just different. Wizards were out, so you had all these books to choose from. Like, they came out with their little list, and you kind of targeted the books that were on the list, and it was just a real formulaic, almost. I mean, it almost was formulaic to the like we know what people are going to buy. We're going to steer them toward this. Like Wizard was brilliant about that. They could literally influence and steer you to certain books. And while that was fun, I remember having a lot of fun with it. In hindsight, like it was sort of like you were kind of like brainwashed into like collecting things you didn't necessarily want to pick up. I mean, there's a lot of the Image stuff. I mean, you go back and read it now, it's just pure trash. It's garbage. Whereas the older stuff, like there's more substance to it, a little bit more quality in terms of what was coming out versus the 90s. But again, there were great stories in the 90s too. I don't want to like make it seem like the 90s were void of great works. It's just I was personally focused on the stuff that wasn't great. But every now and then the good stuff would sneak in and you'd balance it out. But anyway, yeah, shout out to him. I love what he's doing with the 90s books. I'm a 90s guy. I love the 90s. And then we start off with a great 90s book. This is X-Men 30, The Wedding of Scott Summers and Jean Grey. Just a great cover there by Andy Kubert. And this is like a wraparound cover, so it's just really nice. You got Jean looking absolutely fabulous in her wedding dress, capturing a real just joyous moment for everybody. All the X-Men are there except Logan. Logan is dealing with a whole backlash from getting his adamantium ripped out of his skeletal system. And so, yeah, again, great stuff. 90s great stuff. So that's number 5. Number 4 on our list, this probably, in all fairness, probably should be higher because it's such a great Cyclops cover. It's really the first time we see like the redesign of the original X-Men in like not like uniform costumes, but very differing looks. So yeah, it's a kind of a new direction for the X-Men here on issue number 39. And yeah, just a classic cover. This next book is like many say this is like Burns' one of his most iconic covers on the X-Men run, and I would agree. It's great. It's just when we're talking about like Cyclops covers, this is just a great cover with Cyclops in it. But I think there are actually better Cyclops covers. But either way, this could have been number 1. This could have been anywhere on the list, but it definitely belongs on the list. And that is X-Men 137. It's got this classic look here. Again, the classic costumes, they're kind of like battling and kind of having a last stand moment out in outer space. Just incredible stuff right there. And then this is number 2 on the list. I just picked this up, but yeah. As far as like Cyclops covers go, I mean, you could make an argument it's probably the best. And it's a key moment when he leaves the team. He needs some alone time to process everything that's happened. He just doesn't feel like he could be a good leader, and he leaves Storm in charge. So Storm kind of, well, it's unclear who's going to lead the team, but Storm emerges as the de facto leader of the X-Men after his departure. And then, of course, this is just personal preference. Obviously, a lot of you might disagree, agree. This is another redesign of the X-Men characters. And I think really, I like that the classic, this classic look from that transition to this costume. But to be honest, like, I like this look a lot better. This is sort of the look that, I think cemented this team in terms of like design and what they should look like. This look cemented in a lot of collectors' minds as like a key type moment. The 90s teams is basically, you had X Factor and X-Men running kind of parallel to one another, and then they're brought together again. And you just have sort of the classic teams representing. So this is sort of a classic embodiment of the team, along with some new members. You had Psylocke is central to this era. Gambit is obviously a big presence in this era, as on the cover of these as well. But yeah, I mean, this is just about as iconic as you can get. And again, that's the Scott Summers redesign there in terms of video games and all the things that came out of licensing the X-Men from this period, which really, like, with the amount of sales this comic book did, it led to the movie eventually. It led to just X-Men being the bomb at Marvel. So it was a big moment. So yeah, that's the Cyclops look of the 90s that we really, I think, give a lot of credit to Jim Lee and for redesigning that. It's in our psyche as the look of Cyclops. And now I know Cyclops has undergone a lot of iterations, and he's kind of taken the more classic look, the skull cap, like, visor, which is fine. That's a very classic look. But again, in the 90s, when he was redefined, that for me is like the look, the Cyclops I prefer. All right, now we're going to transition to DC and just a beloved character. My girl's Psylocke. I love me Psylocke. But then I got to thinking, like, Psylocke is kind of like, she's a little bit of Wonder Woman. She's a little bit of Elektra. And, like, those are two of my favorite characters as well. Two of my favorite, women characters. And, while, like, Elektra and Psylocke fall into that kind of bad girl, femme fatale type category, Wonder Woman is, a good girl. And, I've always, but they all kind of look alike with the dark hair, just the power. you know, it's definitely like a type. So if you said I had a type, it would be like that dark-haired, sort of like powerful, strong, can kick your ass type, like female. But the exception to the rule is Supergirl. Like I also like Supergirl, and Supergirl's embodiment of like good girl, you know. Um, she's, you know, an orphan here as well, like kind of like Kal-El. Her family escaped, but then like her entire like family and clan died. Um, you know, off world. Uh, and then she was kind of jettisoned to Earth to meet up with her cousin. So, you know, it's like her story is you're kind of sympathetic to her because she's lost like all her loved ones and it's kind of starting here. She's alone, but she, you know, meets a new family. She's reunited with her cousin, and there's all these like it's just a great story, and you really, I feel like she was written to really pull at your heartstrings, and like um, there would be few people who wouldn't cheer or, you know, like Supergirl's character. She's just so kind of pure-hearted, and like she wants to do good. She wants to kind of follow in her cousin's footsteps and help everybody and protect everybody and all that. And that has remained true to this day. You know, like there hasn't been very much variation in the essence of her character, who she is. And yeah, I just love that she still remains sort of one of the top, I guess, characters in DC, female characters in DC, and she always will be that. So yeah, putting this kind of the list together, you know, obviously we could have expanded the list, but I just wanted to keep it short. So this is a book we just picked up. In fact, a lot of these we picked up this year for the most part, pretty much all of them. And you know, I take this back. I think I have done a top Supergirl cover. So pardon me. I have done a top Supergirl covers in my collection. But this is sort of like a renewed list because a lot of these we just picked up. So maybe I'll do like an expanded list later, but we'll see. But this is actually like, I mean, the more and more I look at this, the more and more I want to like put it right at the top of the list. It's like such an incredible cover by Archer. It's the swimsuit variant, and I just love the swimwear, Supergirl swimwear on that. We got the just kind of matches the concept of her suit, but of course, with less of the suit there. But it's just a fun moment, you know. It looks like she's with her cousin there. They're enjoying some time at the beach, but I just love the colors. I love the, you know, how playful she is, and you know, she's got the summer look down, and obviously Archer just doing us a favor with the detail to the anatomy there that we like. So yeah, that's just an amazing cover. Now this next one is one of those Kurt Swan, Neil Adams collabs. It's kind of Kurt Swan doing the initial sketch and then Neil Adams kind of finishing it up. And I think you definitely see panels here where it's like Neil Adams, like just the top two panels here screams like Neil Adams. All the rest of the stuff seems kind of like, you know, kind of Swanish, kind of Adamish. But yeah, just a beautiful giant size cover here of Kara like just ripping out of the book and featuring all these like little great side stories where she's central to. Just a fun cover. And yeah, some Neil Adams, Kurt Swan collabo goodness. We always like that. This is a Kurt Swan cover, and it's just another fun cover. You've got this sort of board game design. You could actually play a board game on this. Like start here, and then go around and finish here. And it kind of recreates that moment where she's introduced to the world, and they kind of have parades for her, and the world's celebrating her, and she kind of comes out and reveals herself, and everybody is just like in love. So yeah, looks like this is maybe a look back at that moment, but a comic first, a complete book-length novel. So looks like this is just a long sort of maybe a look back at all the special moments that she encountered leading up to this issue. So yeah, Action Comics 360, we had Superman. Action Comics 373 and then 360. And this one was, I believe, my previous number one. And it's just a beautiful cover. In fact, I kind of want to find a higher grade copy of this, because there are issues on the spine here, but the image itself is very clean and flawless. It's just, she just looks so like, I just get like Mona Lisa, like just something that there's some kind of magnetism in this cover here that just draws you into her. And I have covers like that of Psylocke. I have covers like that of Wonder Woman, where you're just like, they're just so beautiful in the cover. You're just naturally drawn to the image. And I just feel like this way about this cover. Really is just, it just captures her essence right there, like her beauty and her essence. Just that's what you kind of would expect if you were to like meet Supergirl. You just be like, kind of like jaw-droppingly incredible. And in the same vein, we had Arterm, and as much as I love Arterm's style and all that, he does kind of like use all the little digital techniques to enhance this and whatnot. But with this guy, with Michael Turner, we are just getting pure, just comic book. We're getting old-fashioned comic book talent featured here with Supergirl 1. Now I have also other Supergirl, like, I don't want to say I think there are Supergirl issues done by Turner. They're all fabulous, and any one of those could just have popped on the list and been featured, because they're just all really great covers. But again, I added this. I have the black and white version of this, where it's black and white. It's a sketch cover, but the eyes are blue. And there was a spine split in it, so I just sold the book. I got rid of it, because I always had the intention I'm going to pick up a nicer copy. We'll just get rid of the copy with the issue. And ever since then, it's been tough to run into. Like, you'd think this modern book would be like, just like there'd be more of them out there, because it's such, not only is it an iconic first issue, it's it's just a popular cover right there. So you just expect more people to have them, and they'd end up in half-price books, or just in somebody's bin. Somebody would be selling them. You'd think you'd find them out in the wild, but no. I mean, it's hard to find Supergirl 1, at least the Michael Turner cover here. And I think it's just because, like I said, some covers just magnetize you and draw you in, and you just can't part with it. You just have to like keep it in your collection, kind of like a photo of like your girlfriend or something. You just got to keep it in your wallet or somewhere, just to remind you, like, man, give you that little dopamine burst in the middle of the day, or in the middle of the night, whenever you're just kind of need that little burst of happiness. You like pull one of these covers out and just be like, yes, please. Just like one of those things. So yeah, this is number one, and I think this will just be like number one for like forever. I can't unless I find like a Bolin Supergirl cover. I should actually look for that. Just like look for if Bolin ever did a Supergirl cover. I just think that would be absolutely amazing. Hey, what's up, Red Pilled Vegan? How you doing, man? Thanks for joining me. We're just kind of wrapping things up here, but yeah, this is number one, my number one Supergirl cover in the collection. I only showed like 5, but yeah, my top 5 Cyclops covers and my top 5 Supergirl covers. And I'm actually, I'm targeting some bigger Supergirl books that are on my want list. And I think by the end of the summer, you're going to see some more, because I've been picking up, not that I've been like crazy with the Supergirl pickups, but all these books here that I just showed off. I picked this up this summer. I picked these 3 up this summer. I picked up a couple Supergirl books that aren't on this list that I picked up as well. And I'm realizing now that like Supergirl books make me like happy. It's like, so like it has the same effect Psylocke has on me. But of course, I'm still partial to Psylocke. But like I don't want to just like kind of like rank who's like more I have more affection toward, because they're just all great. But I mean, I'd probably go like Psylocke, Wonder Woman, Supergirl, and then Elektra, like in that order. But yeah, I mean, I've also been focused on Wonder Woman, and I definitely want to pick up more Wonder Woman books. Like, there's just so many, and so, like there's so many Wonder Woman books to really just like, it's huge. It's a huge like rabbit hole to fall down. So, right now we're just kind of focused on Bolin and Perez, but there's a bunch of good Ross Andrew Wonder Woman that I kind of want to get into and start just picking up a few books just to kind of get my feet wet, and then maybe we'll wade into that pool a little bit deeper. Good email. I'll message you after. Yeah, I'll message you offline my email address, and yeah, we'll talk offline. But yeah, thanks, Red Pill. We'll definitely connect. And then Supergirl, she's just always been kind of like, like America's sweetheart. Wonder Woman's kind of like, it's a kind of like a different vibe. I feel like Wonder Woman's, she's not like American, she's kind of like the, the Grecian goddess or the Amazonian that like kind of visits us, and she's kind of like this alien, foreign, like immigrant type person, but she kind of is the adopted, much like Superman, like kind of this like immigrant figure who kind of adopts America as her own, but she's still got her own like home land. Whereas Supergirl's like, yeah, she's kind of the same thing, but she's got no one here, so her just like her roots are here now, and like America's her new home, and she becomes kind of America's sweetheart and all that. So it's a little bit different vibe to both characters, but of course they're both still very beloved. And yeah, I just wanted to highlight like the there's just so many great female characters in comic books. I mean, they're just really like Jean Grey's another great one. There's just so many great like characters and covers of these heroines. But I just definitely wanted to kind of give props to the ones I like and I prefer. So hopefully I can expand on my collection of these characters for as I go along. But I definitely, I'm really focused on like collecting the artists and stuff they have. And right now, Jim Lee, I don't think he's done very many Supergirl covers. Again, I have to kind of research, see if Bolin put out any Supergirl covers. John Byrne might have a Supergirl cover here and there, which we would probably want to pick up. But you know what I mean? It's like Supergirl is just one of those like offshoots. Michael Turner's done a lot of Supergirl covers, and I want to pick up all those. So I don't mind like focusing on that. And we do that whenever we see like a Turner Supergirl cover, we'll pick it up. I mean, it's just they're hard to come by. And I just think everybody has that same like, Turner Supergirl cover. Like they're keeping that. They're not, because again, it's like dopamine drip. When you look at it, you're just like, ding, like happy. It's like a shot of like happiness. Well, and that's what I think the purpose of comic books are, right? You like collect all these books, but at the end of the day, when you pick out specific issues and you look at the art or you read the story or whatever, it just triggers that like that intense either that emotion of like connection to the story or the emotion, the visual connection to these characters as well. That's on full display. So all right. Again, we're heading to Vancouver in 2 weeks. I've tempered the budget that we're taking up there. We'd initially planned to spend big up there, but based on, I think I did some intel on what the con is, and to be honest, I don't think it's going to be that impactful of a show to where it would have a lot of the stuff we were trying to pick up. So we've just kind of narrowed our expectations, and we're going to save the bulk of the budget for a November show in Tacoma called Grid City Comic Show. We're going to hopefully do a last hurrah kind of, we'll have a good chunk of budget saved up, and hopefully I can at least take $1,000 to that show and just blow it there. Because I think there'll be a lot of good stuff. I was there last year. It was a lot of good stuff that I passed on because I only had $60 at the time. So we're just almost exclusively focused on picking up volume and picking up like dollar bin books, cheap books. But this year, the strategy is going to be different going into Grid City. We're going to have a good chunk of coin, and we're going to be focused on the big books. So it should be fun. And that's going to kind of, I guess it'll be well into fall when we go to that. So I don't know how much more we're going to pick up this summer. I think Vancouver might be sort of the last hurrah for the summer. I think everything we work and save up post Vancouver is going to go right to the Grid City Comic Hall budget. So we'll just think, my last haul, we picked up $100 worth, and it's all kind of the stuff that I ran into during the summer that we didn't pick up in anticipation of Vancouver. But then, after the strategy changed, we just decided to get it all locally, and I'm very happy with the stuff we picked up. I mean, this book here, this is something we've been meaning to add for a long time. This is just an iconic cover here, burn cover. So just really happy with pickups like that. All right, so that's that. I'm gonna connect with you offline, Red Pilled, and hopefully I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for following, and obviously if you like this content, please like, subscribe, and just continue to follow me in my journey. I'll cover, I know I kind of go over like my philosophy of collecting and all that, and And for those of you who follow me, probably know it very well. But in the next video, I'll do another little sort of like profile on who I am and what I collect, maybe in detail, right before the Vancouver show. Maybe we'll do like a kind of a sit down, get to know otaku kind of rehash over that for some of the newer members to the channel. But thanks for your support and watching, and we'll see you next one. Peace out.